Good afternoon, Lake Erie Council. My name is Jarrod Blundy. I'm the Firelands Camp Director, and I'm here with my special guest, Nick Haas, who also works at Firelands as our Aquatics Director. Hey, Nick.
Hey, how you doing?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me here today for our Tiger Den meeting. I'm so glad that you're here.
Me too. Should be fun.
Now, Nick, I see behind you, you've got a really cool picture going on. So what are we doing today?
Well, we're going to be doing the Tiger Belt Loop, well, as much as we can of the Tiger Belt Loop, floats and boats, which is the Tiger's Aquatics Belt Loop. So I've got
Awesome.
an ocean behind me.
I see that. It looks really cool. This will be an interesting sort of scouting at home activity because it's something that typically we do at camp because we have ponds and lakes and swimming pools to do this sort of thing in. So while we may not be able to do everything just the way we normally would, this will be a great resource for you and your family to do some activities at home. And then when we can safely go back out into the water, you'll know exactly what to do to finish up your requirements. Isn't that right?
Yep. Sounds perfect.
Fantastic. Well, while everybody's joining us here today, sorry for our late start, but while you're gathering up for our meeting today, we have a little fun gathering activity. And if I move my camera down, you can see that I've got my own swimming pool right here. See, Nick?
I do see your own swimming pool. I also have a swimming pool.
Well, I'm going to race you to dive head first.
Oh, okay. Ready?
3, 2. Oh, wait, no, wait. That's not what we're doing. That's at the end, right?
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool.
So I have a challenge for you. We each made a recyclable boat. I'll just call it a recyclable boat. A recyclable boat made out of things that we found around our houses. Mine has a sail on it. What did you make over there?
I made a canoe, kind of.
A canoe. Very cool.
And
so we're going to see if these, one, float or not, and then two, if they do float, how much weight we can put in them. Hey, it looks like yours floats.
It does.
Mine does too.
A better angle here. There we go. That's better.
That's a good looking canoe, Nick.
Thank you.
So
is yours a sailboat?
Well, it was supposed to be a sailboat. You can tell by the sail here.
That's what I thought.
But the shape was kind of hard to make. And we'll talk about the shapes of sailboats in a little bit. But I've got plenty of room inside my boat here to test how much weight that it can handle. So I'm going to challenge you to see how much stuff we can put inside before it no longer floats. And for those of you that are following along at home, I've got quarters here. And what do you got over there, Nick?
A whole mess of random coins.
Awesome. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments how many different coins you think will be able to go in each of our boats and which boat you think is going to last the longest. So let's start putting them in, Nick. I've got one quarter going in. Still floating.
Me too.
All right, 50 cents.
50 cents.
Not even budging. I'm going to put 50 more cents in.
All right. I'm with you there.
All right, still looking good. I'm putting 2 more in.
I think I'm going to put a whole $1 in.
Oh, raising me $1, huh?
Yeah. Oh, I'm tipping. I'm tipping.
Oh, no. I put in my $1. I'm still looking okay. You know, I learned yesterday during our Adventures in Coins meeting that the weight of 1 quarter is about the same as 2 pennies.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah. I'm going to put another $1 in.
Oh, man. I'm going to attempt to not sink my boat. I put 50 cents. You said 2 pennies.
There you go.
I'm still there. I'm still
nice.
I'm still sailing. I'm still there.
Very good. Well, let's try and go one more $1. I'm still looking pretty good. I think the flatness of my boat is helping.
I am out of quarters. Do you happen to know the weight ratio of quarters to nickels?
Ooh, nickels. I'm gonna say that's probably a nickel and a penny would equal a quarter. So I guess you'll just have to go with 2 nickels.
All right, 2 nickels it is. Let's see here. Haha.
Very nice. Your canoe there is actually lasting longer than I thought it would.
Oh, you doubted my canoeing skills.
I should not doubt an aquatics director. I'm going to put another $1 in.
Let's see here. I'm going to go with 2 more nickels. Ooh, I'm still doing good. I don't think I'm going to sink.
That's awesome. Well, I actually only have 1/4 left, so I'm going to throw that in, drop it from way up here. Easy. This boat is doing great.
Let's see here. Three more nickels, a dime, a couple pennies. I think I'm going to be fine.
That's amazing. And that's just made out of aluminum foil?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Just a couple folds, actually. It was really easy to make.
We'll learn more about the shapes of boats and different kinds of boats and how they work in the water in a minute, but I'm really impressed with this. Great job, Nick.
Thanks. You too.
All right. So everybody who's joining us at home, looks like we have 10 or 15 people live with us right now. Welcome, everybody. We're about ready to get started with our meeting opening with the Scout Oath, the Scout Law, and the Pledge of Allegiance. If I can set my swimming pool off to the side here without spilling all over myself. There we go.
Forgive my shaky camera work. It's the first time I'm using this one. I apologize.
So while we get started with the beginning of our meeting here, I'd just like you guys to think about the shapes of our two boats, Nick's canoe and my sailboat, and think about how they might look in real life. I think Nick's looked really close to a real life boat, whereas mine might be a little bit different. And see if you can think about the connection between different little boats that you might sit in as a person and big boats that you might carry lots of stuff on, and how their shape affects it. And go ahead and throw those thoughts into the Facebook comments below. If you have any questions throughout the meeting, we will also answer those live as well. But Nick, I've got my American flag back here. Will you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Of course I will.
Fantastic. If you're at home in your uniform, you can put your Scout sign up. Otherwise, if you're not, hand over your heart and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And Nick, would you lead us in the Scout Oath?
Of course. Scout sign. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, and to obey the Scout Law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. Awesome. And then we'll do the Scout Law as well. A Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. 2. Thank you, Nick. And Tiger Scouts at home, I have a question for you. You can put into the comments. What is the Cub Scout motto? So I'll have you answer that for us. Now, today we're doing floats and boats, which is going to teach you all about different kinds of boats, how to build a boat like we did with our recyclable materials, and how to stay safe on the water, which I'm really looking forward to. That's going to be a fun one. We're going to try and do some safety training, build your own skills that you can practice there with your family at home, do a little bit of teamwork and problem solving, and always remember, as part of the Scout Law, that a Scout is obedient and thrifty. And we're thinking about those today because an obedient Scout always follows the rules around aquatics because they're very important. And thrifty, well, we just made a really cool boat out of just materials we found at home. That's pretty cool, right? It'll also come into play later when we need to find something to help.
That's true. And looks like the Vincent family, they say, do your best is the Cub Scout motto. Well done, guys. That is perfect. Do your best. We're going to do our best today as we go throughout our den meeting. This will be a little bit funny doing an aquatic activity on dry land, but we're going to do our best. And as long as you guys do your best too, that's all we're asking. So Nick, let's go and get started with some boat things. I know that there are lots of different kinds of boats that we use at camp. What are some of the ones that we have available for our Cub Scouts to use when they come out to summer camp?
Well, 2 of our favorite boats that the Cub Scouts like to use are the canoes and the paddle boats. And kayaks is a close third.
I always love the kayak. I just feel like I can move around really well in them.
Oh man, I prefer a canoe. I feel too tight in a kayak, too small for me.
Gotcha. We also have kind of that boat that's almost in between the kayak and the canoe, those little round guys, right?
Yeah, those are, I'm not sure what to call those, never have been, but they're like little flying saucers on the water. They're cool. We use kayak paddles with them, so I guess they're kind of a kayak.
Sure. So some other kinds of boats that we've mentioned here, we've talked about the canoe, the kayak, and the rowboat. And we kind of talked about the sailboat for my weird looking thing at the beginning. But these are 5 different kinds of boats that you often see in scouting. And you can see they have similar but different shapes, and they all kind of move a little bit differently. So if you're looking on my screen here, you'll see the top one, the canoe. That's a really lightweight and pretty narrow boat. This is Nick's favorite. They're both pointed at it's pointed at both ends, and you're propelled by using a paddler that are facing the same direction, but you only have one blade on your paddle. I think you have an example there, right, Nick?
I do. This here is a canoe paddle. The handle's a little broken, but you know, that's okay. But you can see that you'd hold it with one hand here and the other one on top, and you just paddle on one side of the boat, like so.
And that's kind of why you want two passengers in your boat. So you can have one paddling on one side and one paddling on the other. Otherwise, you go in circles.
Yeah, otherwise you just spin in circles unless you know the fancy strokes that let you go straight.
And a kayak is pretty similar, but that one can be piloted by one person because your paddle has the blade on both ends.
Yep, so if you were to look at this, if this was a kayak paddle, it'd be about twice as long, and there'd be another blade on the other end so that you could kind of do one of these things where you go in and out. In and out. I don't know the kayak paddle, I'm sorry. They're not my favorite boat.
That's okay. Now the other ones, the motor boats, those are pretty fun because you don't have to paddle them at all. You just have to steer them with your hands and then use the motor in the back to point it in the right direction and determine how fast you're going. And that one has an engine and a gearbox and the propeller all in one unit. So everything you basically need to steer and to push it forward is all in that thing that sits right on the back of the boat. Finally, or not finally, we have a rowboat, which is another one that's propelled with oars, like the one that Nick has there. And that one is a little bit different because the oars are typically fastened in place on the boat itself. So you don't have to hold it, it's held up by itself and you just move it with your hands, right?
Yep. And a fun thing about rowboats is you actually use them backwards. So normally when you're in a boat, you face the front of the boat called the bow. But when you're rowing a rowboat, you actually face your back faces the front of the boat. So you're looking at the back when you're using it. So you're always in reverse.
That's a little weird, but I guess that makes sense because you're pushing, not pulling.
Yep, you're pushing the boat.
And then finally with the sailboat, which is very distinctive because it has that fabric sail on top, which catches the wind to push you around. And you're going to aim both the sails and what's called the, what's that thing called in the back? A
rudder?
The rudder, thank you. That's going to point you in the right direction, but it's all about catching the wind to get you going forward. You're not pushing yourself with oars or paddles or using a motor at all. It's all about the wind. So I'm going to pull this back down so you can see both of us. And we've got a little fun activity. So we've talked about the different kinds of boats that we have. I'm going to tell you one word. And Nick there is going to act it out. And what we'd like you to do is put in the comments which boat you think that we're referring to. You ready for this, Nick?
Yep.
All right. So number 1, put a 1 into the comment and put in your guess. The word I'm going to give you is wind. Cool. So guys, which boat do you think number 1 is? Again, that's wind. For number 2, let's go with paddles. Nice. And the paddles is a little bit different from number 3, which is paddle. Not paddles, but paddle. Looking like a good oarsman right there, or a good paddlesman.
Number 4 is going to be engine. What do you guys think engine refers to? Which boat? Oh, going for a ride. Very good. And number 5, the word is oars. Reminds me of going for a nice stroll in the water. Oh, there you go. Now you're pointing in the right direction. Awesome. So we'll see if anybody gets some guesses in there in the next couple minutes, and we will let you guys know. But again, that was number 1, wind. Number 2, paddles. Number 3, paddle. Number 4, engine. And number 5, oars. Good deal. So next, Nick, I think we're going to learn a little bit about safety. And I think you have a really cool chant to teach us so we can remember how to stay safe pretty easily, right?
Yeah, I do. This is called the Scout Safety Chant. Scout Water Safety Chant, I'm sorry. And we're going to do this as a repeat after me chant. So this is a way to help us remember how to stay safe in the water. So repeat after me.
Okay.
S is someone's watching, never swim alone.
S is someone's watching, never swim alone.
C is check the rules, know where you can roam.
C is check the rules and know where you can roam.
O is buddies only.
O
Should be
is
far from
buddies
shore.
only, should be apart from shore.
U is know what you can do, don't do anymore.
U is know what you can do, don't do anymore.
And T is tell a grown-up if someone's in need.
T is tell a grown-up if someone is in need.
Because Scout shows safety, now you take the lead.
Because Scout shows safety, now you take the lead. Very cool.
Yep. And that's just a way to help you remember some basic rules to stay safe in the water and around the water.
Good. So I'm going to pull this safety chant up in front of everybody here so they can see it in front of them. Can you explain a little bit more about each of those?
Oh, of course.
There we go.
So as if someone's watching, never swim alone, we want to make sure that we are never in the water by ourselves. And that even goes for somebody like me, a trained lifeguard. You always want to make sure somebody is there watching you. So if you get in trouble, there is somebody to go get help and to help you out, right? C, check the rules so you know where you can go. There's always something called a safe swim area. The area that we have checked to make sure it's safe to swim in, or the area that you're allowed to swim in based on your swim ability. So we don't want you going further than that because it could be unsafe for you, right? If you're not good at swimming in deep water, well then we want you to stay where you can touch the bottom.
Makes sense.
O is only buddies should go from shore. And again, this goes back to similar to someone's watching. You always want to have somebody who's looking out for just you, right? You should never go away from shore if you don't have a buddy with you. Having that buddy with you is what keeps you safe, because if you start to go underwater, that buddy is right there to see it happening. Their job is to make sure you're okay. U is know what you can do. If you know that you're not going to be able to do something, don't try it. If it's going to be unsafe, don't do it. We always want to do more than you think you can a little bit, but we want to do that safely with somebody who's there to help you out. And we never want to bite off more than you can chew, per se. And then
that's why we do our swim checks before we go inside, right? So we know where our limits are.
Right. That's the perfect time to test what you can do. If you think you can swim a little farther than you did last year, doing it during your swim check is the perfect time to try that out. But it's not a good idea to do it when we don't have, the safety precautions in place to make sure you're safe.
Got it.
And then T, tell a grown-up if someone's in need. Well, the grown-ups are going to be able to help a little bit better than you can, just because they're a little bit stronger and taller and longer, and they're probably going to know what to do. So always make sure if somebody's in trouble, immediately go tell an adult. Get help. Go get help.
You don't think you're going to get in trouble. We always want to make sure that we can help out our buddies.
Right. I'd rather know somebody's in danger and save them than to have somebody being in danger and because they're afraid of getting in trouble, they get really hurt. That would be awful, right? So always come to an adult.
And Scout shows safety. Now you take the lead. Now we know the rules about being safe around the water and we know what to do. I like it.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, looks like we don't have any guesses for our boat challenge yet. So we'll let you guys know what the answers for those were. Remember, number 1, that one was wind, and that goes back to our sailboat. For the paddles, that one was kayak, because we were paddling on both sides, right?
You almost tripped me up with that one. I didn't hear the S at first. You can see the delay as I thought about it.
And then paddle number 1 would be for the canoe, because you're paddling on one side. The engine, I really liked your engine noises over there, is of course for our motorboat. And then finally the oars, when we flip around backwards because we point the other direction, that one is for the rowboat. All right. If you guys are following along, or even if you're watching this after we're live, all of the links for these activities are in the video description. So you can kind of see the boats that we were talking about, the water safety chant. You can save those for later as well. Now our next game goes back to that buddy system that we were talking about. And can you explain, Nick, a little bit about why the buddy system is important, how we do it in our aquatics areas? I know you love calling buddy checks.
Oh God, buddy checks are the best. So the buddy system is important in all of scouting because having your buddy is somebody who's supposed to watch out specifically for you. You could be in a crowded room and without having somebody whose job it is to watch out for you, you could get injured and nobody could notice, right? And same thing goes for aquatics. Your buddy is there to be the first person to notice if anything is going wrong with you. They're the person that's supposed to yell for the lifeguard if you need help, if you're going under, if you hit your head on something, if you got a leg cramp and can't swim anymore. Your buddy is supposed to be there to notice what's going wrong with you. And so your buddy is super, super important, and you always have to stay close to your buddy, because if I'm on the other end of the swimming area from my buddy, can I really watch them? No, not really. So you got to stay close to your buddy. You should be within an arm's reach, maybe 2, we want people to have fun, but you should always know where your buddy is and be able to talk to them and communicate so that you guys can stay safe. And in aquatics, we have an extra layer that we have with this, where we assign buddies and we have buddy tags. And I'm sorry, I don't have an example of one right now, but there are round tags that have colors on them. And those colors let me know what area of the swimming area you're supposed to be in, where you can swim, how well you swim, and how well your buddy swims. And it helps me out because it lets me know who's in the swimming area and who's not there. That way, if something goes wrong, I can make sure you're all safe. So
makes a lot of sense.
Yep. And to make sure we count, we occasionally call those buddy checks where we ask everyone to get out of the water. And everybody sits down, and then we'll call your buddy group like swimmer doubles. And then if you're in a group with one other buddy, you'd stand up and hold hands. Jarrod, you're my buddy. Don't forget. Yeah. And then we count you. And then once everybody's done that, we can get back in the water. So the faster we do it, the more, and the quieter and the quicker we do the things, the quicker we all get back to swimming. So
we want to make sure that everybody's there.
Right. We got to make sure everyone's safe.
So I always like the buddy system, not just because it's for safety, but also because it gives me just somebody to talk to while I'm walking down the trail or while I'm hanging out in the aquatics area.
Oh yeah, that's always the best too. It's really no fun to swim alone.
Exactly. So we have a little game that you guys can play at home with your family and your siblings about how to use the buddy system. And this is a fun way because it uses animal noises. So in the comments there, we'd love for you guys to tell us what your favorite animals are and what's the animal sound that they make. So what you're going to do with your buddy at home is you're going to buddy up. So you have your hands up in the buddy system. And you're going to whisper to each other what animal you are. So Nick, I think that our buddy animal is the elephant.
Elephant. Okay.
Elephant. Okay. And every buddy pair should probably have a different animal. So your parent can assign you an animal, or you can draw one out of a box. So everybody has a different one, and that'll work just fine. Now what we're going to do is spin around and close our eyes and go somewhere in the room. And now from this moment on, all we can do is make our animal noise to try and find our buddy. Are you ready, Nick?
I'm ready.
A brrr. Stomp, stomp, stomp.
Big ear noises.
Hey, I found you.
Oh, hey, there you are. Yeah.
Very good. So that's a fun way to have a buddy system within your den or within your pack. You can have fun with your animal noises, and you can show how easy it is to find somebody if you're paying attention using your ears. Now, if we were in the aquatics area, what would a buddy check sound like?
Buddy check! Everyone sit down on the docks. And then we'd ask you all to get out of the water and sit down next to your buddy on the docks. And then when we'd call your area, so like I said, swimmer doubles, which me and Jarrod are.
There we are.
We'd hold our hands up in the air. We'd count them. We'd be like, good. We'd sit down. We'd put our hands down. We'd call the next section beginner doubles. The beginner doubles would stand up. Apparently we're that too. And then once we're done, we'd be like, resume swing. And everyone gets to cheer and jump back in the water safely without jumping on people, because that's bad.
Makes sense to me. Sounds pretty easy.
Yep, real easy.
All right, well, let's move on to our next activity then, which is showing how to correctly wear a PFD. Does anybody know what a PFD stands for? I bet Nick does.
I do.
Yes,
I
yes,
do.
you there.
Personal flotation device.
Personal flotation device. What does that look like?
It looks like a jacket made out of foam.
You mean like
that?
this?
Yeah.
Hey, I just happen to have my don't call it a life jacket called a PFD right here.
Yeah,
I'm going to show you how this goes
life
on.
jackets. I don't like that though, because that's not their name.
So we'll call this a PFD. It's a personal flotation device. It's intended to keep me safe in the water. And there's a couple things you want to know when you're putting on your life jacket. The first thing is that it is the right size. So if you look at your PFD, you're gonna look for the tag that shows you what size it is. This one says, and it's an adult medium, which is the right size for me. And if I put on my my PFD, just like I'm putting on a shirt or something, it should feel really snug and comfortable, but it also needs to be tight. Not so tight that I can't breathe, but tight enough and snug enough that it's not going to slip off me if I'm moving around in the water. So I've got these buckles here. I'm going to buckle it. I like to go from the bottom to the top. I'm going to buckle each one of these. I can't just buckle one. I need to buckle them all. You can see I'm pulling these straps each time so it fits nice and snug. There's number 3. And my last one up here is number 4. Rechecking all of my buckles here. Now, how should I test this, Nick? Feels pretty good, but how do I know that it's good?
Well, hopefully you have your buddy there who can help you, but since I can't reach through a computer screen, what you can do is you can take your thumbs like this, and you can hook them under the edge of your the collar up here, and you tug upwards. And if it doesn't come over your ears, you're good. So if it slides past your ears, you want to tighten it up. But yours looks pretty good there, Jarrod. I would say you get a pass.
Well, thank you. It's actually very comfortable. I'm going to keep it on.
You're all set to go boating now. Or swimming
Fantastic.
in a section you know is too deep for you.
All right. So if I'm thinking about my my PFD, I want to make sure again that it's the right size and that I've got it on correctly and comfortably. But there's different kinds of PFDs for different kinds of boating and swimming, right?
That's very true. Every PFD has its own use. Actually, there's a bunch of different types. 5, in fact.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to pull up those different examples here, and maybe Nikki can talk us through what each one is used for and which one we want to use for most of our activities at camp.
Sure thing.
Here we go. So the one I have on is called a type 3. Is that right?
Yeah, the one you have on is a type 3. If you look at this picture here, that would be the yellow one in the middle. Type 3 PFDs are designed for being active and fit and doing things like canoeing and paddling and climbing up icebergs and going off of blobs. And that's because they are kind of thin in the front and in the back, which means you can move around in them really well.
Okay.
The only downside to a type 3 PFD is that it won't keep your face out of the water. So if you are, if you come up and you're floating face down, you're going to stay face down. You'd have to roll yourself over. That's
Okay.
kind of the compromise we make for being more active and movable. The first two PFDs on that list are actually intended to keep your face up out of the water. But we sacrifice the ability to move around in those a little bit. So the one on top is called a Type 1 PFD. It is an offshore life jacket. And it is used in emergencies. Like if you were on a cruise ship and you were going underwater, you'd want to have a type 1 on, because they are designed to keep you up in really high choppy waves, like out in the middle of the ocean, right?
Makes sense.
The Type 2s are the kind of faded reddish orangey one. And those are near shore. If you're going to go on a fishing trip and you're just going to be sitting in a motorboat, you're not planning on like canoeing or doing anything super active, this one works perfectly fine. It's not as comfortable because it's just a bare strap around your back, but it will keep your head out of the water if you fall out of the boat. And it's not gonna, it can be, it's pretty good. It's also a really good throwable because it's kind of got some weight to it. So in an emergency, you could use it to help somebody else out too.
I really like those bottom ones, the special use and the throwable ones. Those look like fun.
Yeah, they are. Special use PFDs are Type 4. I'm sorry, Type 5. I'm sorry. Special use are Type 5. And they are special use. They all have special purposes. Like a lot of the Coast Guard PFDs are special use. They have really specific purposes that I've never needed. So I don't know too much about those ones. Sometimes special water, like water flotation for kids, can be in that category too.
Like
And
those
then,
floaties.
yeah. And then the last one are throwable devices. And these ones are fun. So like seat cushions in airplanes are technically a throwable. That seat cushion you see there is a throwable. Oh no, wait, maybe seat cushions are, I'm sorry, I might be wrong. Seat cushions might be a special use. But ring buoys, those big white rings you always see in like movies and stuff, those are throwables. So yeah, and throwables are ways that we can reach somebody that's far away from land without having to get in the water ourselves. So
I like the sound of that.
as a lifeguard, I use those a lot. Well, not a lot, but more often than the others.
Cool. Well, thanks for sharing that about all the different life jackets. Like I said, we like to use the Type 3s at camp because we're so active. As Nick said, we're climbing up icebergs, we're jumping off blobs, we're swimming around. So we have lots of these that we can show you how to put on correctly. But always remember, it's got to be snug, not so tight that you can't breathe, but also make sure any zippers or buckles are all done up. You don't want them flopping around. They're there to be buckled, and they're there for a reason.
Yep.
All right.
Oh,
so
it is important. It is important. One last thing about PFDs. I'm sorry. It's important to look them over before you put them on, because if they have rips in the fabric, you really shouldn't use them. If your clips are broken, you shouldn't use them. And if your if the tightening straps are frayed and getting weakened, you really shouldn't use them, because the straps could break, the clips could break, and honestly, slits in the fabric make it so that they swell up with water and they don't hold you up as well. They actually start to work against you. So got to make sure you check it over for safety first. You don't want to use a broken PFD.
Yeah, for something so important, I want to make sure that it's in right working order if I'm going to trust my life to it.
Yep.
Awesome. Now, our next activity is what I've been looking forward to this whole time, and I'm glad we just talked about throwable flotation devices, because we're going to talk about helping a buddy who's in danger in the water. And it just so happens that I wore my scout pants, which can be
Swim trunks.
Swim trunks, thank you, as well, because we're going to go for a quick swim, huh?
I'm not going to go for a swim, hopefully.
That's right, because you're the adult that's making sure that I'm staying safe.
Right. So
I'm going to show you my my little swimming area here. There we go.
Look, that's
Fantastic.
such a nice, pretty lake.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to go for a quick swim. I've even got my personal flotation device on. And I'm hanging out in the water and having a great time.
You're just over that way a little bit. I can. You're pretty close to me. I can see you there.
Perfect.
So In this situation, me and Jarrod could count as buddies, even though I'm not in the water, because I'm nice and close to him, and all I'm doing is watching him swim. So that's okay. We can still be buddies here.
Awesome.
So that's really good. Now, if Jarrod were to get in trouble and start having
Getting a little tired.
swimming, I would want
Been swimming a long time.
I would want to immediately find some way to help him out, right? Okay, Jarrod, pause. Pause.
Okay.
You're good for a second. So if I want to help him out, there's two ways. I can find something to throw. I'm sorry, I'm off screen. I can find something to throw to him, like a pool noodle, because it floats, right? If he's too far away for me to reach to him, I can toss him a pool noodle, or I can throw him a floaty thing, or a PFD, right? Do I want to throw something heavy at Jarrod though?
Please
no,
don't.
If it sinks, I don't want to throw it to him, because that's not helpful. And I want to make sure I throw it so that it doesn't hit him on the head, right? Because if I hit him in the head with something, even if it's light, he might
push him in the water. We don't want that.
Right? Push him in the water. So if I can reach him, I'm going to reach him first, right? Because that's safer. So I can almost reach Jarrod. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my, I'm going to use my paddle because I happen to have it on hand. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lay down like I'm a starfish. Starfish, right?
Great starfish.
My arms and legs are spread out. My side is directly next to my water here, this blue and green water, nice lake water here. And I'm going to reach out to Jarrod with whatever I've got easy at hand. You know, Jarrod, go ahead and grab onto this.
Oh, I think I got it.
Okay, cool. And then I can pull him in, and while I do, I'm going to talk to him. Hey, buddy, you're going to be just fine. We're going to get you to shore. Come on in and grab onto my hand and hold on to shore.
Oh, thank you, Nick.
You're welcome. Now, just to explain a bit about what I did there, you want to lay with your side next to the water, because if you're laying, so I'm going to lay two ways. The first way is going to be the right way, which is my side next to the water, all starfished out, ready to reach. This way, it's really hard to get pulled in by whoever you're helping. If I were to lay this way, though, it would be really easy for somebody to drag me into the water.
Yeah, it looks like your head was almost basically in the water there.
Right. I'm already part of way in, and once you start to get me in, I'm just going to keep going. So you want to make sure that when you're doing a reach rescue, laying down, your side is next to the water, as close as you can get without being in it. And you want to use your starfished hand and foot to grab onto anything around you. So if there's a tree, grab onto it. The side of a dock, grab onto it. You know, press down on the ground as hard as you can. Anything to help you stay out of the water while you save your buddy.
Sounds like the sideways starfish is the way to go.
Sideways starfish.
Awesome. So I've got a little picture here that I'd like to share with everybody. And maybe you guys can help us determine whether this person is doing the reaching rescue really well, or what things he's doing really well and what things that he can improve on. So we'll get that pulled up for everybody. And you can post in the comments the things that you think he's doing well and the things that he could do better. It says reach with a long stick, a scarf, clothes, or anything else, crouch or lie down to avoid being pulled in. So Nick, let's critique this a little bit. I see that the person, he's got his buddy, which is a good thing.
He's got a buddy.
The person in the water is not on his own.
It looks like he's in a lake or pond that, you know, without like any sort of like lifeguards around. So that's probably not great. You probably shouldn't be swimming in an area you're not supposed to.
Sure. Yep. We should have your swimming area designated.
Right. But it looks like, I mean, the guy doing the rescue is doing a pretty good job. He's holding onto a tree. He's got a really nice starfish going on. He's reaching with something, but something's off about this picture.
Yeah, I like a starfish. I love that he's holding onto the tree, but I don't think he's doing the sideways starfish that we talked about.
Yeah, he's not doing the sideways starfish. Like right now, if his buddy were to pull too hard, it's real likely that he could just slip off of that grass, especially because it could be muddy because it's so close to the edge of the water. and it could just pull him right into that water with his buddy. And now we've got 2 people in trouble instead of just 1. So I would like this a lot better if he would, do the sideways starfish. He could still hold on to the tree. He could still spread out his legs and still reach his buddy, but he'd be a lot safer that way.
Makes sense to me. So that's an activity that you can practice on land as we did to kind of practice your sideways starfish. And then when it's safe to go back in the water, it's something that you can practice with an adult who is your partner for this activity. And this is something we practice at camp, right?
Yep.
Yep. Show.
Yep. We definitely we try to practice this with every age group at camp. I like people knowing how they can help out in an emergency. We all got to be superheroes in our own way.
That's true. And if you guys haven't heard, our theme for this summer out at camp is going to be superheroes. So I'm pretty excited for that, to see all the different heroes that'll be coming out to camp, to our training ground. And I know that Nick's got some awesome ideas for his superhero training ground at the lake. All right, well, we're coming down to the end of our meeting here, but we have one last fun activity, and this is going to be one that you're going to practice at home as well, because this is about becoming comfortable in the water and your swimming technique and how to float a little bit. So talking about superheroes, Nick, I think you have one last thing to show us, right? And that's, what was that called, the glide?
It is called the prone glide. It is the first step to swimming underwater. Well, I guess the first step is putting your face in the water. So you got to get comfortable with that. And Jarrod will help you do that right at the end of this. But once you get comfortable putting your face in, we want to know how to move underwater. So let's see if I can do this. So you want to lay down almost like you're Superman in the water. You want to get your arms out in front of you and your feet behind you. You want to be nice and straight in a streamline. Right? And that'll help you go through. But how do you get moving? Well, you got to kick off the wall. So let's see if I can do this.
I'll give you your superhero music. Dun da dun da 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 dun dun da dun da 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 dun.
And that's kind of
very
what a prone
nice
glide would look like.
That's awesome.
In the water. But I promise it's way easier in the water than it is on a rolling chair.
So you just float on top of it, push out with your legs as if you're Superman, and slide across the water.
Yep, and it's a real good way to get comfortable moving through water and to learn how to swim underwater, which is a great skill to have. So
perfect.
Once you guys can, I recommend practicing.
If you have a really big bathtub or a huge kitchen sink, maybe you can try it. But I don't have anything that big here, so I'm gonna have to wait until we get back to summer camp.
Yep, gotta wait till I get that lake.
All right, and then the other thing that you need to do for this requirement, which is requirement number 4, swimming comfort and bubble blowing. So as Nick mentioned, a great way for you to become comfortable with being in the water, because sometimes it can be a little bit scary. What I like to do is just to put my head in first, and then I have a little bit of fun with blowing bubbles. So I know that I'm not getting any water in my mouth or in my nose. It's air coming out, pushing the water away from it. So I don't want any water inside my mouth or my nose. That doesn't feel good. So we're going to practice that here today with my swimming pool. I'm going to blow some bubbles for you. Here we go.
You see, Jarrod's doing it awesome. He put his face flat in the water before he blew his bubbles, which is a really good way to do that.
That was refreshing.
I mean, I guess it's as close to the lake as we're going to get for a little bit, Jarrod.
I got to practice as much as I can. I got to get ready for summer camp. So thank you all so much for joining us for our den meeting today. If you're practicing your bubble blowing like me, I'd love to see some pictures of it. So you can comment them here in the meeting or on our Facebook page with Scouting at Home. And I hope you guys have had some fun learning alongside us some water safety and about boats today. If you did everything along with us, and once you've done your prone glide and your water safety demonstration for that reach rescue, you'll have completed all 7 requirements, 1 through 7, with your adult partner. So when we get back with our dens, you can tell your den leader and have them check it off in your Cub Scout book.
If you want to do some more scouting at home activities with us, we have done meetings every day for the different levels of Cub Scouts. Tomorrow is Bears. I think they're going fishing. And then Thursday is Weeblos and Air of Light. And Friday is our Lion Scouts. We also have many more scouting activities on our website. So just go to lecbsa.org and you'll find the at-home page there with lots of activities and videos for things that you can do at home. And I hope you'll join us this weekend for the virtual camper-all, where we have people coming from all over, not just Lake Erie Council, but from all over the nation, and some people from around the world doing camping activities with us. Going to set up a campsite at your house. We're going to do some cooking together and lots of scout skills throughout the day, plus a little bit of service to show how a scout is helpful. Are you going to be there, Nick?
I'm going to try to be.
Fantastic. So that'll be this Saturday on April 25th. So you can join along with us in all the great camping activities for our camper-all. Hey, Nick, I really want to say thank you for your time today and putting this together with me so we can show some great skills for our scouts. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it has been. Thanks for having me. It's been awesome. And I hope you guys out there learned a lot and are looking forward to coming to camp where we can get in the water and, test out the skills we learned today.
Sounds like a plan. Can't wait to get back out there with you. Well, everybody, thanks for joining us. Hope you're staying home. Hope you're staying safe and healthy. And we will talk to you again later. Thank you so much, Nick.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.